beyond this year. There have been 64 years before this year. We went to Lagos, where we celebrated political leaders and icons who have led Nigeria and made their mark. 65 years today. Where's Nigeria? Where are we? How are we doing? Beyond the media. And what's next?
Let me also use the opportunity to congratulate all of us on this milestone. My take, and anytime I have opportunity to speak to issues like this, I always tell people you can Google me, you can look back and say, okay, what is it that Jibrin Ndace has said, even as a private citizen? I have been very consistent about my belief in Nigeria. I've never given up on Nigeria. And I'm not saying it because I see that Nigeria is a perfect country. Maybe perhaps of the background in where I grew up, within the environment I grew up, but because I have also been privileged to move around both on the African continent and around the world. And to say that nations are not defined based on the cup is half empty. So if you say Nigeria is 65, 65, I beg your pardon. Let's even start with the democracy that for many of us we take for granted. From 1999, when Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999, nobody gave us that chance. The first instance was when President Olusegun Obasanjo was to do the re-election. Nobody gave that chance. They believed that it wouldn't last more than 4 years. We did that successfully. President Obasanjo handed over successfully to President Yar'Adua, who died in office. And even as I'm saying this, I want us to reflect back and see the challenges that Nigeria was able to surmount. When late President Yar'Adua died, for many people, it looked like it was going to be the end of Nigeria as a country. But we move on. It was challenging, but the political leadership, the National Assembly, and other stakeholders, even elder statesmen from the background, because what people don't understand, sometimes when issues arises, there are people who are not in government, who are elder statesmen, who stay behind, but get the problem solved. They don't want the country to go down. There are many of them like that. And then President Goodluck Jonathan came on board, did the tenure, as we have seen, of late President Yar'Adua being his vice president, and then contested. In 2015, that year coincided with a prediction that Nigeria was going to break up after 2020. Of course, that was even built around simulation by other experts in a certain country, which is done around countries generally. Even Nigeria here, there are think tanks that look at geopolitical situation of country. That was their prediction. That didn't happen. There was an election, and for the first time, an African president lost an election and was humble enough, was gallant enough to take a phone call, as painful as the moment and as difficult as it was, because within the corridor of power, for some of us, all of us who are privileged to be in there are decisions that leaders take, but there are people around that leader who say, don't take that decision, which happened even to former President Goodluck Jonathan. For that decision, he was in a moment like what a U.S. General Colin Powell said, command is lonely, but lonely is not enough. You have to take decision. And he took that phone call, which made him not just a national hero, but an African icon.